The 1970s was a time of bold experimentation and unforgettable films. Beneath the iconic blockbusters lies a treasure trove of underrated gems that often go overlooked but deserve a place in every cinephile's heart. If you're someone who loves hidden movie magic, this list will surprise, entertain, and maybe even amaze you. Be sure to hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe, because you won't want to miss the incredible films we've unearthed for you today. Let's dive deep into the forgotten corners of 70s cinema. This is a must-see for anyone who loves a good puzzle wrapped in a cocktail of mystery, sharp wit, and star power. The Last of Sheila is a murder mystery that feels almost too clever for its own good, and that's precisely why it's such a joy to watch. Written by Stephen Sondheim and Anthony Perkins, yes, Norman Bates himself, the film takes place aboard a luxurious Mediterranean yacht. A group of well-to-do people is invited by a wealthy movie producer, played by James Coburn, to partake in a scavenger hunt that quickly spirals into something much darker. As the game unfolds, the secrets of each character begin to surface, and it's impossible to tell who's playing who. With a cast that includes the likes of Raquel Welch, Diane Cannon, and Ian McShane, The Last of Sheila is packed with twists, sardonic humor, and a brilliant final reveal. It's got everything a great mystery needs, from complex characters to deliciously layered dialogue, and it will keep you on your toes until the very last scene. If you've ever been hooked by a whodunit, you'll find yourself practically obsessed with this film, eagerly dissecting every line and clue along the way. A truly bizarre piece of 70s cinema, Phase 4 is one of those rare films that takes a seemingly ridiculous premise and turns it into a high-concept, mind-bending experience. Directed by Saul Bass, known for his graphic design work on Psycho and West Side Story, Phase 4 centers around a phenomenon where ants, after being exposed to unusual radiation, evolve into a superintelligent species. The film is part science fiction, part psychological thriller, and it's utterly mesmerizing in its weirdness. As a group of scientists work to understand the ants' new abilities, the film explores themes of control, the fragility of human civilization, and the inevitable takeover of nature. What makes Phase 4 so fascinating isn't just the suspense or the creepy crawlers, but how the film plays with visuals and pacing. The shots of ants in formation, marching like soldiers, will haunt you long after the credits roll. Its ending, particularly the surreal final scene, is one of the most divisive moments in sci-fi cinema. It's obscure, enigmatic, and feels like it's designed to provoke as much as it does fascinate. But for all its oddness, it's undeniably captivating in a way that few other films from the era managed to achieve. Robert Altman's The Long Goodbye is a remarkable departure from the classic hard-boiled detective genre. Elliot Gould's portrayal of Philip Marlowe is as far from a hard-nosed, suit-wearing private eye you might expect as you can get. He's a laid-back, scruffy, cat-loving guy who prefers to take it easy rather than get mixed up in shady dealings. Set in Los Angeles, the movie follows Marlowe as he gets entangled in the strange disappearance of his friend's wife and the murder of a mysterious millionaire. The genius of the film lies in its unconventional approach, Altman's signature style, with overlapping dialogue and a detached, almost disinterested vibe, mirrors Marlowe's own sense of detachment from the world around him. Gould plays him with a dry wit and a tendency to drift through life without getting too invested. The movie features brilliant supporting performances, including a standout turn by Sterling Hayden as a washed-up old gangster. The humor in The Long Goodbye comes from the absurdity of the situation, Marlowe's casual disinterest in the unfolding drama and the ridiculous characters he encounters along the way. It's not just a noir, it's a reflection on the genre itself, as well as a meditation on the contradictions of Los Angeles and the people who inhabit it. If you enjoy films that make you think as much as they entertain you, this one is a must-watch. Sam Peckinpah's Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia is one of the most uncompromisingly brutal and unrelenting films ever made, but it's also oddly funny in its madness. Warren Oates plays Benny, a down-and-out piano player in Mexico who is tasked with retrieving the head of Alfredo Garcia, a man who had been involved in a violent crime and whose family wants vengeance. What sounds like a straightforward revenge flick quickly turns into a surreal, and sometimes absurd, journey through a desert of human desperation and savagery. Oates gives a performance that is both tragic and darkly comedic. His portrayal of Benny's madness as he slowly loses his grip on reality is one of the most memorable in cinema. The film is filled with unexpected moments of humor, but it's the kind of humor that emerges from the sheer absurdity of the violence and the hopelessness of the characters' situations. What makes Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia stand out is how it balances grotesque violence with a dark, existential examination of life's futility. The whole film feels like a fever dream, a relentless descent into madness that is both horrifying and strangely cathartic. If you're a fan of gritty, character-driven films that challenge your sense of morality, Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia is a must-see. The Friends of Eddie Coyle is a masterclass in understated, low-key crime drama. Robert Mitchum plays Eddie Coyle, a small-time crook in Boston who is forced to make hard choices when his criminal activities catch up to him. Coyle's world is one of constant risk, a place where even the smallest betrayal can mean the difference between life and death. Mitchum's portrayal of Eddie is both weary and world-weary. He's the kind of guy who's seen it all and is just trying to get by. What makes the film so compelling is its authenticity. The film's gritty realism and attention to the minutiae of the criminal world are what set it apart from other crime thrillers. Coyle is caught in a web of lies, betrayals, and tough decisions, and Mitchum's performance makes you feel every ounce of his moral dilemma. The slow-burning tension is punctuated by moments of humor, often coming from the ridiculous characters who surround Eddie, but it's never played for cheap laughs. There's a genuine sadness that runs through the film, a melancholy awareness that no one, not even Eddie, can escape the consequences of their choices. It's a quietly powerful film that stays with you long after it ends. The Conversation is one of the most hauntingly suspenseful films you'll ever watch, and it's also one of the most thought-provoking. Directed by Francis Ford Coppola, this psychological thriller follows Harry Caul, Gene Hackman, a paranoid surveillance expert who overhears a conversation that leads him to believe that a murder is about to happen. As Harry becomes more obsessed with the people he's been spying on, he starts to unravel his own troubled past. Hackman gives a masterful performance as Caul, a man who is both brilliant at his job and deeply disconnected from his own emotions. The tension in the conversation builds slowly, but it's incredibly powerful. The film's use of sound, especially the intricate recordings Harry makes, plays a huge role in creating an atmosphere of unease. The film also explores the ethical dilemmas of surveillance and privacy, making it incredibly relevant even today. What's fascinating about The Conversation is how it quietly sneaks up on you. It's not a flashy thriller with explosive action, it's a slow burn that gets under your skin. And the ending? Well, let's just say it's one of the most chilling and haunting conclusions in film history. If you like your thrillers cerebral, this is an essential watch. A psychological horror film that takes its time to unsettle you, Let's Scare Jessica to Death is a haunting exploration of grief, paranoia, and the nature of reality. Jessica, played by the superb Zora Lampert, has recently been released from a psychiatric institution after a breakdown, and she and her husband move to a secluded house in the woods. What starts as a peaceful attempt at recovery quickly becomes a nightmare as Jessica begins to suspect that the woman living nearby may not be who she claims to be. As the lines between reality and madness blur, Jessica's growing instability becomes as terrifying as the supernatural forces that may or may not be haunting her. What makes this film so unique is its slow, deliberate pace, which draws you deeper into Jessica's fragile mind. The tension builds not through jump scares, but through the unease of watching a woman unravel before your eyes. There's an eerie, dreamlike quality to the film that keeps you constantly questioning what's real and what's imagined. It's an eerie, off-kilter film that sticks with you long after the credits roll. If you're a fan of slow-burn psychological horror, this is one to add to your list. In a time when bank heists were typically seen as straightforward crime stories, The Silent Partner flipped the script in the most brilliant way possible. Elliot Gould stars as Miles Cullen, a mild-mannered bank teller who inadvertently discovers a plot to rob his own bank. But instead of just reporting the crime, he decides to secretly pocket the stolen money, setting up an unpredictable game of cat and mouse with the robber, played by Christopher Plummer. What makes The Silent Partner so unique is its darkly comic tone and the sharp, cynical wit of its central characters. The tension is palpable, especially as Miles' cool and calculated demeanor contrasts with the increasingly erratic behavior of Plummer's character. It's a film that brilliantly mixes suspense with humor, and every twist feels earned. The stakes grow higher as the plot thickens, and by the end, you'll be both shocked and impressed by how well the film weaves its web of deception. This is one of those films that sneaks up on you. What seems like a simple crime caper turns into something much deeper and much darker. This revenge thriller is like a train that's been set on the tracks and cannot be stopped. William Devane plays Major Charles Rain, a Vietnam War veteran who returns home to find his family brutally murdered by a gang of criminals. What follows is a relentless journey of vengeance that makes Death Wish look tame in comparison. The film's pace is deliberate, building tension with every calculated action as Rain slowly but surely hunts down the people responsible for his family's death. But what makes Rolling Thunder stand out is its chilling, almost stoic portrayal of its protagonist. Devane's performance as Rain is haunting, portraying a man who's been hollowed out by the violence he's witnessed in the war and the loss of his family. The violence in the film is slow, deliberate, and sometimes almost too uncomfortable to watch, but it's the kind of thriller that gets under your skin. It's a meditation on grief, trauma, and the destruction that comes with revenge, making it much more than just a typical action flick. William Friedkin's Sorcerer is a high-stakes thriller about a group of desperate men driving volatile nitroglycerin through the treacherous South American jungle. It's a tension-filled, action-packed experience that will have you on the edge of your seat from start to finish. The film was actually a remake of the French classic The Wages of Fear, but Friedkin added his signature intensity to the story, creating a pulse-pounding experience unlike any other. The most memorable aspect of Sorcerer is its incredible sense of suspense. The men must navigate the jungle with the highly unstable nitroglycerin, and every obstacle, from narrow bridges to deadly storms, only heightens the tension. It's not just a thriller, it's a gritty character study of men driven to desperation by their circumstances. The performances are fantastic, especially Roy Scheider's portrayal of the lead, but it's the haunting, atmospheric cinematography and Friedkin's direction that elevate the film to something truly special. It's a perfect example of the type of 70s cinema that was unafraid to take risks and push boundaries. Here you go. 10 hidden 70s movies that each bring their own brand of thrills, laughs, and unforgettable moments. Did we miss one of your favorite underrated classics? Let us know in the comments, and maybe your pick will make it to a future list. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more cinematic discoveries.